The purpose of the Flick Reedy Education Enterprises is to promote individual moral responsibility through education. How do we do this? We study and discuss the interrelationships of history, philosophy, social studies, and economics. We do not dictate. We do not make statements as to what we think you should or should not do. We do not unduly burden this program with footnotes, references, or complete documentation. However, we do give sufficient data to bring this discussion into proper focus. We invite you to delve further into the necessary historical and statistical data to develop a deeper understanding of truth and a keener sense of individual moral responsibility.
I think we all feel fortunate to be United States citizens. There might be some people who don't feel that way, but probably not very many. If they don't like it here, they can go someplace else if they want. The point is that most everybody appreciates our country. But there is quite a big difference between feeling fortunate about being a citizen and fulfilling our responsibilities of citizenship. If we like what we have, it's worth doing all we can to hang on to it. What might be included in those things we should do to fulfill our citizenship responsibilities? Well, I guess a good start would be to earn a livelihood for ourselves and our families, so we can stand on our own 2 feet with our head in the air, not beholden to any man or group of men. I'm not saying that a person doesn't need a helping hand once in a while. We all do. But it should be temporary, and the help that's given should be voluntarily given. We ought to pay back for that help, either to the person or group who gave it, or perhaps to someone else who needs help. That's my understanding of what's in the good book. Another of our responsibilities of citizenship is to obey the laws of the land, local, state, and federal. Generally, if we follow the ideas in the good book, we won't get in much trouble with the law. We have to set an example for our youngsters to follow, so they'll grow up to be good citizens too. Are these 2 duties enough? I don't believe so. Abraham Lincoln said this was a government of, by, and for the people. If that's true, it seems like we have to take part in that government somehow. I don't mean to get something from it, but to give something to it besides our taxes. I'll never forget how I felt when President Kennedy, being sworn in as President of the United States, said,
"Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country."
He had been serving his country for quite a while. Each of us has to study and learn about our country and our government, and then do the things that need doing to keep it the way we think it ought to be. We may differ once in a while. That's a healthy sign that people are thinking. It's a blessing we have the freedom to argue, even to criticize our own government. There are many people in the world who can't do that. As long as we don't deprive other persons of their God-given freedoms, then our governments, local, state, and federal, ought to leave us alone as far as controlling our lives and what we do. As long as we don't hurt others, we should have the right to be wrong in our private decisions. If we learn from our mistakes, we'll do better for it. If the government makes up our minds for us, we can't even learn from our own mistakes. And even governments have been known to make mistakes once in a while. When I hear that our federal government owns or controls between 15 and 20% of the industrial capacity of our country, I wonder what they're doing and why. Many of the things our government is doing we could do for ourselves, and probably do it better. It isn't fair for the government to compete in business with its own citizens. They can operate at a loss while they're competing, then make up the loss by taxing all the rest of us. Thomas Jefferson said,
"That government is the strongest, of which every man feels himself a part."
That's why it's so important for all of us to make our ideas and feelings known in our government. It's our government, and we ought to be a part of it. It seems like some people feel we ought to let the government do more and more of our planning for us. Even our children coming out of school are strong for that idea. It's almost like that's what they're being taught in school. It's most noticeable in many of the young people coming out of our colleges and universities. Many argue that government should be the benevolent provider. When I talk with them about what they mean, it usually seems to mean the government should give them something, and usually for nothing, they think. They never seem to remember that before the government can give something away, it must first take it away from the people. Of course, much of the time the government is taking it away from some people to give it to others. It's almost like robbery, except when the government does it, it's legal. So, if we want to stop this legalized robbery, we must make our voices heard in our government. If I understand our form of government, the God-given rights of life, liberty, and private property were not meant to be subjected to a majority vote. While our government does employ the democratic majority vote process in some things, our republic is to guard our God-given rights even against the will of the majority. Many feel that more governmental control over men is necessary because of the increasing complexity of our civilization. Is it reasonable to believe that the increased complexity of our civilization is administered easier by long-distance government than by local government or by the individuals themselves? The error of those who advocate extensive governmental planning and control is that they assume that there is one man or a group of men so wise, so just, so free from the possibility of error that they always know exactly what is best for everyone everywhere. That is the stuff that gods are made of. And we don't have any gods here on earth. These social planners, well-meaning no doubt, contend that they want to take into government men who do not exploit people, to put these fine men over the folks who operate our businesses, industry, and agriculture. They want to regulate and control them so they can, all by themselves, rule our economy and do good. They tell us that their rule will eliminate the peaks and valleys of our economic system. They say all the waste of competition will be eliminated. But when they have used these powers and things don't turn out right, they say,
All that was wrong was that we didn't go far enough. Give us more power, and it will surely work right next time.
Their plans rely on power and depend on force. But if force is used, the basic incentive of man will have been removed. Individual freedom will have been lost. What has been the result of these plans? Taxes have gone up and up and up. Our debit has increased and increased. And that cruelest tax of all, inflation, robs us of the value of all our savings and insurances. Eventually, man will not have the time or economic means to oppose the planners. For the most part, these planners are not even elected to their positions. They are appointed, and they seem to go on no matter who gets elected by the people. And the bureaus get bigger and bigger, spending more and more money. Many people have sunk to the low moral point of thinking and saying,
We might as well get our hand out. If we don't get it, someone else will, and we'll have to pay for it anyway.
Trying to get part of your tax money back from the government in the form of a handout is like giving yourself a blood transfusion from your left arm to your right arm, and spilling a lot of blood in the process. And many people who are loath to take the handouts have failed to raise their voice in protest. They are too busy earning a living, watching TV, bowling, playing golf or bridge or pinochle, too busy to take an informed, active part in their own government. It has been said that
We get exactly the government we deserve.
And some joker has added,
And we've got the best government money can buy.
You can't buy good government, at least not with money. If it can be bought, it must be bought with the care and activity of its citizens. Many people not wishing to take a strong stand are proud to say they are a middle-of-the-roader. They follow the philosophy of the ostrich, burying their head in the sand of their own interests, hoping the struggle will pass by, leaving them unnoticed and unharmed. But a person who stands in the middle of the road is in danger. He can be hit from both directions. In politics, he will be hit by both the neoliberals and the conservatives. The middle-of-the-roader must wake up to the fact that there is no neutrality in the fight to preserve individual freedom. If he stands in the middle, taking no part, he will be torn apart by special interests bidding for his support. And if he fails to give that support, either through courage, cowardice, or indifference, he may be steamrollered into the asphalt in the middle of the road where he stands. Solon, the Athenian lawyer of about 600 B.C., said,
"He shall be disfranchised, who in time of faction takes neither side."
Some, aware of the present situation, say,
"Oh, wait. When enough of the public has been hurt, it will wake up and act. I don't have the time or inclination to try to wake them up before that."
What they fail to see is that by the time the public, or enough of them, have been hurt, the present system of government under which they can act may well be lost forever, or at least for another dark ages. These people who want to wait until enough of the public has been hurt should talk with the ordinary people of Russia, Czechoslovakia, Poland, East Germany, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, Cuba, Laos, China, Vietnam, Yugoslavia, or Albania. The social planners are deeply entrenched. They have woven a protective web of tedious, involved, bureaucratic red tape around them, and they are burrowing deeper and deeper. When unemployment and business failure seem imminent as a result of the encroaching control of the social planners, the people will cry out for a man-made savior. The social planners will step forward and take over with their glib promises. We will have a new ruling class in America. You and I will have already been drowned in the surging tide of our own indifference, when preventative, positive action was the crucial imperative. I suggest that a majority of the American people have not yet been heard from, have not yet been awakened to the point of taking an active role in their own government. I believe that less than half of the eligible voters actually vote in even a once-in-4 years presidential election, to say nothing of the off-year elections or the primaries. Make no mistake, elections in America are honest, or at least most of them in most places. There have been some questions raised from time to time, but those times are a small minority of the whole. At least we still have the opportunity to vote for more than one choice. Other people in other lands have already lost that right. Yes, I know. I can almost hear you saying to yourself, "I'm only one person. What can I do all by myself?" Do you recall the answer of Edward Everett Hale that we heard in Part 4? "I am only one man, but I am one man. I can't do everything, but I can do something. And what I can do, I ought to do. And what I ought to do, by the grace of God, I will do." At this point, I'm going to suggest quite a few things, any one or two of which would make quite an impact over a period of time. First, you can register and vote. And when I say vote, I don't mean that you consider that you're doing a favor either to yourself or your country by condescending to vote once every 4 years in a presidential election. I mean you should vote in every election that affects you and for which you are entitled to cast a ballot. That certainly includes the primary elections, where you can help make selections within the party of your choice. An obvious requirement for voting is to become well informed on both issues and candidates. read, study, talk with others, and listen. Your very freedom and that of your children and grandchildren depends on making felt your knowledge and influence. Another way to increase the effectiveness of your own ideas and knowledge is to influence others. You can multiply yourself 1,000-fold if you want to. Just a word of caution, born out of mistakes that I have made. The one sure way not to influence people is to rush around grabbing people by the coat lapels, shaking them, letting them know how stupid and uninformed you think they are, and telling them exactly what they ought to do. That method will, I guarantee, only alienate people. It will waste your time and theirs. Think back for a moment to that time when you were poorly informed and perhaps didn't even know or care. What alerted you? How did you become informed? Maybe that will help you to help other people. Properly approached, people will appreciate your help. Improperly approached, they will resent you. Here is a specific suggestion. The next time you come across an article in a magazine, newspaper, or pamphlet that expresses your thoughts and ideas in a better way than perhaps you can express them yourself, give or mail it to a person that you would like to influence. But do more than just give it to them. Tell them you would like to have their opinion on the article. I guarantee that if you do this in a sincere manner, you will cause that person to read that article more closely and receptively than any other way. For we are pleased when we are asked for our opinion in a sincere manner. This does not mean that the person will necessarily agree with you or the article, but you will have planted the seed of good logical reasoning in his or her mind. And once in the mind, they cannot erase it. It will stay there to confront any conflicting ideas they may have or hear about later. This method has been nicknamed the paper bullet. In the long run, it's more effective than regular bullets. They kill or hurt. Paper bullets tend to help people think things through. Try it yourself and see if it doesn't work for you. In the next part of Two Worlds, we will talk about some other things that you can do to make yourself more effective in fulfilling your citizenship responsibilities.